let's just continue with our building for now. Okay, so I have an alleyway, and I have inside space to a building, but there's not much detail here other than a fence and an awning that I've created. Now we can detail this up all we want to, and in fact we're going to right now. We'll go back to our brush tool, and we'll scroll over here and go to our brush tab right here, and we'll pick wedge from our drop down menu. It's over here on your right side if you don't see it, and make sure primitives is selected. You got different categories. You have prefabs and you have HL2 prefabs, and what prefabs are is they're stuff for your map already made, and you just import them in off this list here, but we'll do that another time. So we're going to draw out our awning. Just drag a line like we've been doing as the length of your awning, and we'll drag it up and give it some height. Hit enter, and you'll notice that it creates a wedge or a half a triangle, but it's laying on its side, and we're going to have to line this brush up so it looks like so. Control M, and by the x-axis 90 degrees. Okay, and you see that's flipped it from on its side upwards 90 degrees, and now we'll rotate it by the z-axis. I believe it's 180. It might be actually 240, but we'll go with 180, and then if that's not it, we'll add 90 to it, which I believe is a total of 240. And there we go, and now it's facing the direction we need it to be facing. We'll go back to our select tool so that we can edit the position and shape of this mesh, of this brush, and line that up, and make sure it's not poking outside of your level here. Okay, I know the room that I've made earlier is, and I'll show you how to do that, why I done that, but we want our awning inside the level. Okay, and we'll pull this back some so it just hangs out a little bit, and then we'll just drag it over so it hangs off slightly, and we'll drag it over this way so it just hangs off a little bit, just like that. Alright, and of course it's going to have the brick texture on it. That's no big deal. We're going to change that. Now you can get a stylized awning like I have here by selecting your wedge, going to tools, and then make hollow. Use 15 for the value, hit OK, and you'll see that it's indented part of this in. With our ignore group tool, we'll select this part and we can delete it, but actually we're going to delete this and the back piece to it, and this piece here. And the reason why is it'll give us a thin brush to work with, so that it looks more like the edge of a building awning than anything. You see what I'm saying here? It looks like more like a roof now. And then you can fill in this space if you so desire. And that's just another way of doing that. We'll delete this brush for now, and we'll just use the same style that I have over here. We'll pick the same texture too. We'll just use that texture. And there we go. Yeah, don't forget about the brush below it. Make sure it's going to be hanging off and it's actually touching the brush below it. So you can do that in your perspective window here. Just drag it down a little bit. And let's check the other end here. Select that, zoom in, and we'll drag it out just a little bit. There we go. And we'll apply the same texture there. And then on the other side it's going to be brick, but we can change this to wood or metal. Let's go with wood. And for beams and things like that, Valve normally uses these textures right here, these three here. I like this one because it's darker. We'll use that one. And now we have a metal awning with a wood underpin. You can even fill this out here or drag it just so it lines up. I'm going to fill it out so that we keep our awning overhang. See, it's just a little bit of an overhang to it. And you can actually apply the apply the wood texture to that if you like, so it looks like it's got a wood under support to it. And just use metal for that piece right there. So there we go. Got that. It's got an awning, has an underpin, and that was very simple, right? Now we can also make another entrance right here. So let's say if they couldn't get out this way, instead of them having to take the long walk of possible peril, they could exit out simply right here. So let's cut a hole in our wall. Just make sure your block has been selected again on your primitives tool tab. Otherwise, it'll draw another wedge and it'll have a funny looking doorway. And then we'll drag out a little bit of space right here. Let's say about 1 grid size. When I say grid size, you see the grid here. I'm just lining it up with a grid top to bottom. And make sure that it's not touching your back wall, but instead it's protruding just a little bit through both sides. And we'll drag this down just a little bit more. Okay, that looks good to me. And let's check the player size. Is the player going to be able to fit through this? No. So let's make it a little bit taller. Let's make it a little bit wider. About right there looks okay. I think even the heavy could get through that. And we'll drag this over just a little bit more. Check to see if it lines up. Move our player over. Go back to our brush tool, and you'll notice that it stays in place. Yeah, it looks like the player can walk through that pretty easily. And I think that's a good position for another exit. Maybe back a little bit. Yeah, right there looks good. Okay, so create a brush, enter, and then tools, carve, or Control-Shift-C, and then delete. Just hit the delete key, and you'll see we're left with a nice hole in the wall.